Hey everyone, welcome back to Driven Ladies. Today I have a really special guest who I've gotten really close to in a very short amount of time. And reason for that is because sometimes it's very hard to find other women that want to empower women right now, or at least in these days. I feel like women are so catty and everyone's jealous of everybody. So I'm super happy to have you here. Amanda, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are, your background, where you came from, and then we'll get a little bit deeper into your business and basically the journey to where you are today.
Wow. Thank you for that intro. Thanks for having me here again. So yeah, I'm Amanda Palomino. My husband, Boris Palomino, and I run, own and operate senior care facilities in Los Angeles. And we met you just a short, 4 months ago, I want to say. And since then, our business has just taken off, and it's been really good. And we're really excited about everything we have going on right now.
How did you was it through my husband's, or how did you end up here in Driven, basically, with our Driven family?
Yeah, so Boris and Albert connected on Instagram.
Got it.
Yes, and Albert invited us to the 5K, like he invites everybody to the 5K. Right. And we decided, you know what, we're either stuck in our business now, we don't know how to grow, or we just take this leap of faith, try something new, especially in an industry or with industry leaders that are not in our own niche. And so that was really important to us to kind of see, okay, what are other industries doing to grow their businesses that we can implement and apply to our own? Mm-hmm. And we came to the 5K, and ever since then, we just kind of hit it off. And yeah, it's been really great and fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and it happened so quickly, you know, and I always say, find like-minded individuals, because if you don't, you'll get trapped in your little world of whatever comfort you currently have or growth that you've reached. But when you meet other people that help you take the ceiling off, it kind of shows you what the hell is possible. And then you realize, fuck, I've wasted so much time. At least that's how I felt, you know, because I'm always looking for the next piece of information, the next thing that I can implement into my business to continue to grow year after year after year after year. But so let's circle back a little bit to where you came from. How did you grow up? Because I feel like a lot of women, obviously I love everyone, but I am a woman and I love to see other women in business, because the reality is we're amazing. Women can literally do anything, right? And I think when you find a very successful man, normally they're in business with their spouse, or it's a woman leading the back end or the front end or whatever. It's a power couple, right? And I think it's so beautiful to see. And I love to find people like you guys, because then we can go on double dates. We can go on kid dates. We can do so many things together. But tell me, I grew up super poor. So how did you grow up? You know, where were you? Just give us a little background so everybody can see that it's possible. It doesn't matter where you come from to reach success.
Yeah. So I actually came from a middle-class family. My father was a business owner, and my mom supported him through that. She also worked as well. But watching them work together, I think helped me a little bit, right? But also seeing my dad run his business, I think that's really where I got my entrepreneur spirit from. So when I met Boris, though, Boris being, born in Mexico, very I'm going to, a very Latin man, I'm going to take care of my wife. Yeah. That was the moment. The second we got married, he told my parents, I'm responsible for making sure your daughter is doing well.
I love that.
So completely cut off, right? Financially cut off from my family. So everything that we have now, Boris and I have built together.
I love it.
And you're right. It takes a really strong couple, a really strong mindset to support each other. Mm-hmm. Because I never once will I say this is my business, or Boris will say this is his business. We always say we own our business together. This is our business because we've built it from the ground up together.
Right. And that's what I love the most, because when you know how to do something from A to Z, you can teach other people to do it, right? Because I know there's a lot of coaches and people online that haven't done what they're trying to teach you. And it's just so counterproductive, and it's like an illusion, right? And I told you when I met you, there is so much opportunity for you guys. I'm so excited, because literally Driven is just dedicated to helping people grow, to if you're just getting started, if you're a business owner, you're stuck, like whatever it looks like, our Driven family offers so many different products that we can help anybody. But when I see people thriving and succeeding, because it's a lot of work, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Of course.
It makes everything, it makes me be okay with all the damn work that never ends. But, did you always... So how did you actually get into your industry? Because when I met you, I told you, wow, like I recently lost my grandma, and I know you deal with, the end of life with people. And is it hard? Do you love it? How did you get into it? Like, how did it all start? Because it's such a special niche that you can actually teach other people that might be working. I told you this before, at a hotel, getting overworked, being underpaid. And these are people that have so much to give. They just don't know how.
Absolutely.
So how did you start? Where did the idea come from?
So it was actually Boris's sister who introduced this industry to us. And we had no idea what this was. So she used to work in a facility before. And I want to say it was like maybe Mother's Day. They all actually, no, I wasn't a mother yet. I don't know. We had a lunch at our house, and she came over. She was starting up her own facility at the time, and she walks into our house, kind of like looks around. She says, "This house would be perfect for a facility." We're like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
She's like, "This would be great for a facility. You guys should open one." We're like, "No way, absolutely not." And then as time went on, speaking to her more, kind of helping her out a little bit, we realized, wow, I think she's right. I think she's onto something, because all it takes is that one little push, or like someone to plant a seed. Yeah. And I think I told you that this week. I'm like, all it takes is someone to plant a seed about an idea that you didn't even know existed.
Right.
And we kind of went with it from there. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, start my own business.
Right.
I never knew in what. And I was getting to that point where I wanted to start a family as well. And I figured, you know what? This would be a perfect opportunity for me to raise my children, work from home and be with them, and not, have to send them to daycare and just be fully present with my family. And that's all I ever wanted. And we now have that and then more,
Yeah. Well, so what does a perfect house look like because I'm wondering, you're like, she said it would be a perfect.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So I'll explain exactly what senior living is first and what the differences are. So what we do is we own a senior living facility licensed for 6 residents or less.
Okay.
In California, it's called a residential care facility for the elderly. It's also nicknamed boarding care, or it's an assisted living facility. We're on a small scale. In comparison, you have the large nursing homes or the large assisted living facilities that have like dozens or up to 100 residents in these units, right? In like multi-level units. We are on a small scale. Our neighbors don't even know we exist if we didn't tell them. So it's a home, and it feels like home. Mm-hmm. So a perfect setting for this is just any residential home. Preferably 4 bedrooms. There's nothing wrong with a 3-bed house, though. 2 bath. Space in a living room and a dining area for wheelchairs and equipment to move around. And then a nice backyard or a patio where your residents can sit at. It doesn't take a lot to do this. In California, if you have less than 6 residents, you don't have to be ADA compliant, but you do have to provide, some handrails and certain safety bars throughout the home. But other than that, it looks like a normal house.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it feels like a normal house, because I can't imagine 100 residents. That's a lot.
It is. Yeah. It is a lot. So what we are able to do is more boutique style and personalized care.
Yeah, I love that. It's, I told you, I'm like, this is like so great to know, because think about it. We don't really think about getting older. At least I never did until I had kids. And then I'm watching my kids and I'm like, my daughter was just born and she's a year and a half now. And she was literally born yesterday. And I don't even know where the year and a half went. And you know what I'm talking about because you have kids.
Happens fast.
And you don't really realize how quickly time is going by until you're watching your kids literally like chia pets grow overnight. And I'm like, what is happening? So for me now, I'm like very intentional with my time. You know, I make sure that anything I'm doing is worth my time. Yep. I don't waste any minutes, you know, but it's interesting to me. Like you said, it's that little idea someone plants. Mm-hmm. That you would choose that because what were you doing before?
So before I worked corporate America, basically. Okay. I did invoice audits for a large corporation. In fact, I kept that job for 2 years while building my business. They had no idea I even started a business on the side because Boris was the one who quit his job first. But I needed the health benefits.
Yeah.
Right? Where, you know, we still live in a society where both, you know, both married couples, like that you need to work.
Right.
You can't afford not to. So you both need an income.
Right. What was he doing?
He worked in automotive.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an assistant parts manager.
Yeah, he's super cool. It's like so nice to see couples get along because working with your spouse could be a complete nightmare. It could end up in divorce. I'm just kidding.
No, it's so funny though because we talk about this a lot though. Like Boris and I talk about how much you have to keep them separate.
Yeah.
And because you work together, there's so many more date nights.
Yeah.
Right? And there's so many places to go and enjoy and be with family. And you kind of prioritize that a little bit more, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, that's the key to staying happy. You have to marry your best friend.
Yeah.
Like I tell people all the time, people are like, oh my God, 16 years. I'm like, honestly, it went by super fast. Like I want to say since I met Albert till today, we've had some weird years. Like 2013 was a horrible year for us, meaning we didn't make more money than the previous year. Uh-huh. But every single year, our income has grown, you know, and we focus on one business, then we build another, then we build another, and then we build another. So when those can run without us, then we continue down the path, you know? Mm-hmm. I think in your case, that's going to be the goal, right? Yeah. Because I'm like, I want to see 2 more by the end of the year. And it's just a thought. Now you're doing coaching, which I think is so cool. And I feel like that's going to fulfill you a lot. Like I could see like that little twinkle in your eye.
Yes.
Which is not something you ever thought about.
It's never been a thought of mine before, no. But I'm just so excited about this opportunity because I really want to help people.
Yeah.
And I really have a passion for what I do.
Yeah.
And there's no competition in this industry. There are so many seniors that need help, whether it's low income seniors, and we use some of the government funding and programs to help them, or families who are able to afford it and they just want the best care possible for their mom, their dad, or their loved one. So helping people open up their own senior care facilities because there's so many seniors who need help and assistance right now.
Right.
I'm just so honored to even be given that opportunity.
I love it. Yeah. I think it's going to be a beautiful thing. We're going to look back and we're going to be like, oh my God, because we only look back to see how far we've come.
Yes, this is so true.
Yeah. But, you know, let's talk about the obstacles, the challenges, the sacrifices, because in our current world, I think social media makes things look so easy. And what I mean by that is everything's a snowball effect, right? So we start here and depending on our habits, our daily habits, our activities, you know, how much work we're actually putting in is going to give us the results, right? And a lot of people, I don't know, you're going to start seeing this because people, I don't know, they come from all over the place and people want to see you do good, but not better than them. So then we get to a place where there's a lot of trolls on social media. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of envy, and it shows up in so many different ways, which I think is really sad because it's lack of information. And unfortunately, a lot of people stop in their tracks because they're scared to be judged. They're scared of what people are going to say. And I say, if they don't pay your bills, who gives a shit what they think? Like, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's literally irrelevant. But as humans, we want to belong and we want to be accepted. And very few are capable of ignoring that noise, right?
Yeah.
So that's something my husband is so good at. I don't even know how he does it, girl, because I look at some of his messages and I'm like, I start fighting with some of these people. So I literally stop looking at his messages because I'm like, how can someone online dislike someone they don't even know anything about? For us, it's been super challenging. Every year is a different challenge as we continue to grow. And you can relate, because I'm sure one senior home was different than two, and three is harder, and it just gets more and more complex. Yeah. But let's talk about some of those sacrifices you guys made. And how did you overcome them? Because really, most people just don't have that pain threshold to put through and push through the obstacles, the sacrifices. Because we as humans are selfish. We want everything, but that's not how it works.
I say this all the time. We live in a world of instant gratification.
Yeah.
Right? The internet kind of ruined us. You want something, you order, it's at your doorstep an hour later. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way when you're building a business, though.
No.
There's so much sacrifice. We used to call it, every time we opened a facility, or every time we used to receive a new client, our friends would know this, but we used to call it the lockdown period of time, where you're like, okay, heads down, we have to focus.
Yeah.
With some really good friends, and we call it must be nice. Oh yeah, because we make it look so nice.
Yeah. Easy.
But yeah, we make it look so easy. We get to travel, we get to spend time with our families, we get to make our own schedules. But the work that we put in, that, that's the sacrifice that it takes. In order to open our very first facility, we moved into a 300 square foot ADU.
I know. I was hoping you would touch on that. That's crazy.
300 square foot. So we opened our first one. My daughter was a year old. 2 years later, we were able to save to purchase our second facility. And instead of moving everyone into that facility, we decided, you know what? This is the time. Our kids are so young. They will never know that we were crammed in this 300 square foot room.
Yeah.
It's the time to put our heads down and just keep steamrolling, because we're doing really well. So we opened a second facility, stayed in that 300 square foot room. My son was born at that time.
I love it.
So now the four of us are in this room, no kitchen. And it wasn't until 4 years ago that we actually moved out.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's crazy, because I think about that now and I'm like, oh my gosh, 4 years is nothing.
Yeah. No.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we've come such a long way. And in that time, we opened our third facility. And I think you touched on it earlier, but it's true. You kind of forget how much sacrifice it took, because you're moving forward and you keep climbing these stairs. But it's interesting, because I feel like every 2 years we get complacent and bored, and we're like, okay, we're ready to add on more. Well, our third facility was open 2 years ago, and we're at that point where we're like, okay, we're ready for the next.
Yeah. Oh, you're working on it, right?
Right. We are. Yeah.
So now, for some of these people watching, so one of my questions would be, do you have to purchase a home, or can it be a lease?
It could be either or, and I have both models. I own homes, and that's a really great opportunity to enter the real estate and be a real estate investor. And, the equity that you're gaining at the same time is amazing.
Right.
You could also lease a property without that big down payment. So there's an opportunity for everyone. Even if you're a real estate investor, there are administrators who are already licensed and ready to open up their facilities. They just can't afford the home. They will lease these properties from you.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's good to know, because not everybody can come up with big amounts of capital, right?
Exactly.
And again, most people are not willing to sacrifice or put that plan into place. Yeah. And even on my sales, everybody that I run across, I'm like, if you want a better life, you do have to have a plan in place, and you have to be willing to sacrifice. Because the reality is most people in 2 years could save a decent amount of money, but it takes, not buying this, not doing that, not going here, and again, not a lot of people are willing to do that. See, me and Albert, we have literally busted our butts from the minute we woke up till we go to bed for all these years. Yeah. 16 years. We're almost 17 years together. Can you believe that?
I've been married for 16 years too.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I got married in 2013. How long is that?
I don't know.
24. No, 11 years. 11 years. And it went by
I love that we're business owners and we're like, I don't know.
Because I don't even know what day it is some days.
I don't either. It's been one of those days.
Yeah. We're putting out fires. We're learning, how to put fires out for the most part. You know, that's what I do on the daily. And especially if I'm missing like a staff member or one of my managers is out, it just adds more to my load,
Of course.
you know, but nobody's going to really do it like us. That's why you find people. I'm sure you have a lot of employees. You find people that could do it 80% as good as you. Because I'm sure your first sales, you were a little more controlling than the second or the third. And then you learn to let go and delegate.
Yes. Delegation is like my best friend right now. I'm like, you don't know how to do it. You know, I have all the patience in the world. I will sit with you and teach you so that the next time I ask, you'll know exactly what I'm asking for.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's literally something that you have to train yourself. I don't know about you, but I'm a super control freak. So for me to let go, it took me so many years. Girl, but now I'm like, oh, as long as it's just as good as 80% as good as I would do it, I'm totally okay with that. Even 70 works on some days.
Yes, I did. I'm the same.
Yeah. So, but no, yeah. And so is there any type of licensing? What type of what do you need as an individual to be able to have one of these homes? Obviously, I know there's insurances and maybe licenses that have to go in place.
There are, yeah. So you need to become an administrator with your state. So here in California, you need an administrator's certificate and take a state exam. It's very similar to like real estate, right? Where you have to take your board exam and every 2 years we recertify.
Okay.
In addition to that, if you wanted to open up a facility, then you apply for a license with your local state. So in California, that looks like anywhere from a 3 to 6 month process to actually open up one facility.
From A to Z.
From A to Z, if you are not an administrator, about 6 months if you already have a home identified. If you don't have a home, then it depends on how long it takes you to find that perfect home
and secure it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that's it?
And then you hire staff. But yeah, that's basically it.
Look who showed up in the house.
Yay.
No, well, I mean, that's good to know because sometimes, at least in my industry, real estate and mortgage, it's always been my world. Yeah. So I can do real estate in my sleep. I can do a loan in my sleep, so, and I'm sure you're the same with your business. But what would you say is the most challenging part, the hardest part of your business?
My answer is probably true for every single industry, and it's going to be staffing. Finding the right people, but especially in my industry, because I don't have medical professionals. We are caregivers. It's a social model of care. So finding that perfect caregiver that is nurturing, willing to learn, and provide really good service to my seniors, that's exactly what we're looking for. Because at the same time, you touched on insurances earlier. Like this is a really high liability business.
Right.
You're caring for people's lives. So you have to take that very serious too. But yeah, it would be staffing. Staffing,
yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think finding great people to employ is probably the hardest part of business, right? And obviously training, and then we go into retaining, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when you find good employees, how do you retain them? Because it is hard to find great employees. It really, really is, And I told you, I talked about this on my coaching call the other day. We were with one of the owners of Laser Away, and I'm listening to this guy. You came in towards the end. The beginning was so good. So, and I'm listening to him and I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. I don't feel like I'm a psychopath or I have way too high expectations, because I do not lower my expectations for anyone.
Right.
I'm like, this is what's expected, but we're not all built the same. We didn't all grow up the same. Yeah. So I think everybody's just their idea of this is perfect and your idea of this is perfect, right? But he literally said that 80% of people in the world are unemployable. I literally almost cried when he said that, because it's so scary. And it's the world now, because everybody wants to build an app or to do something easy, or, buy a bunch of Bitcoin or whatnot and whatnot. And there is no easy road to success. It's never ending. It's literally never ending. And the most important thing, I think, to keep in mind as a business owner, it's just a journey to get there. Because imagine, I don't know if you ever pictured yourself, but having 10, homes, and then 20, and then doubling.
We have
and
thought
doubling.
about that.
Isn't that scary a little bit?
A little bit, because you want to make sure that you don't lose your quality as you grow. And I can only be stretched so thin. So just, again, back to staffing and hiring the right people in place. And so what that looks like for my business model is training from within.
Yeah.
So you guys talked about this in the mastermind.
Yeah.
Giving equity.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that equity isn't only monetary, but what we do in our facilities is we treat our caregivers like family.
Yeah.
If they have an emergency at the school and they have to go pick up their child, like they have the freedom to call us and say, I'm so sorry, I have to leave for
Run out.
30 minutes. Like, we have enough caregivers here. No problem. Go and take care of your family. And they appreciate that so much.
Just proper communication, you know?
Yes.
I talk about people not knowing how to communicate, and I think it's so important, whether it's your business partners,
Yes.
whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children, whether it's your employees, you know, because proper communication keeps that line open where it's like, you said, okay, I know you're going to be gone for 30 minutes, but it's like the minute that we're not communicating, you know, people are sneaking around or they're trying to do the bare minimum. And I'm sure you've had people like that where it's like, okay, we're going to try to fix them. We're going to give them the opportunity to correct the behavior. But some people are just not correctable, or their heart's just not in what they're doing, right? So when your heart's not in what you're doing, I feel like you're just killing time.
Yeah.
You're killing time, you know? And I don't know about you, but me, everything I've ever done, which hasn't been much other than real estate and mortgage. Literally, I was a bartender and a waitress. That's it.
I was a waitress.
Yeah. Oh, you told me.
I carded someone for ordering an Arnold Palmer. I was a terrible waitress.
God, it's
It's like, can I have your ID? He's like, it's an Arnold Palmer. I'm like, okay. I didn't even know what that was.
What does that mean?
Now I do. I'm like, oh, lemonade and iced tea now. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, 50-50. No, you know, and I talk about what an advantage that gives people, because I was never really shy, but I wasn't like the prettiest girl in high school. I was more like a tomboy, because sometimes girls are super mean. And I have my brothers, and I'm the oldest of 5, so I was always hanging out with my brother and all his friends. So we were just kind of hanging out in the summers, and I remember just wanting, I had a friend, she was super pretty and super popular. Like, again, I can hang out literally with all the guys, all the gang, like with anybody. I can literally connect with anybody. Yeah. So I was a little bit shy, but waitressing and bartending kind of helped me get out of my shell to where like we have a job to get done.
Yes.
So, you know, it taught me urgency, speed, and efficiency. You know, I was the person that would come into work, whether I was hungover, whatever from the night before. We're not going to get into those details. You know, I would always show up. Yeah. And my friend would like call out, and I'm like, dude, we were at the same shit. Like, what the hell? You're literally leaving me here. And I remember one time she got fired. We got hired together, and since she got fired, we both got fired. I'm like, that's not even legal. Yeah, can you believe that? From Sizzlers. The one right there. The one right there by the West Covina Mall. Yeah. Because she would always call out. So, like, you know what, waitressing.
Guilty by association.
Right. And then if you're a freaking waitress and someone else calls out, you have to take over their section. So, girl, there were days that I was half dead, but I was there and I was grinding and showing up, because I think it's important when you, so us as employers, business owners, we have a responsibility to cut payroll, right?
Yeah.
An employee is hired to carry out certain tasks. You're basically trading your money, your time for money.
Yeah.
So like I remind people like, hey, we're a team. We're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot better, because before I used to just lose my shit, dude. Like literally. Like it was just frustrating, because I'm like, how come they don't get it? Like we have checklists, we have this, we have that. And then now I just use people to their strengths.
I think one thing that's important too, we hold our staff meetings at the facilities, and we always ask our caregivers, is there something you need from me? Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes it's easy for us to overlook that too.
Right.
And whenever an employee does something that I'm like, you should have known that already.
Yeah.
My first question is, okay, did I not communicate properly? Do I need to retrain? What am I doing wrong so that this doesn't happen again?
Right.
I always look back at myself. I don't know if that's correct or not, but so far it's worked really well.
Yeah. No, it is, because sometimes we're thinking like entrepreneurs, like business owners, like we're, what does Albert always say? Moving the needle forward. Like if it doesn't move the needle, we're not even focused on it, right? But they're just focused on their job, and it could be a text we sent wrong. Sometimes typos mess everything up, you know? So I kind of took a step back and I'm like, okay, let me reread this. And honestly, most issues or like any kind of obstacle can be talked about, corrected, and then like, okay, got it, understood, you know? But there are some people that have no hope though. That's just reality. So
it's true. I mean, it's true. And those people, unfortunately, they're just not a good fit.
Yeah. And you gotta fire quickly.
That is Boris's job. He is my HR, and he does a really great job at it. He calls it. Boris is like actually really great at this. He's like, he's sitting in the corner, so he's listening in. But I call it the sandwich. Is that what you call it? Like it's a sandwich. So you start with something good, then you give the bad, and then you end with something good. And
you're fired. Is that the?
No, but then it's like, no, like you're fired is in the middle. The ending is like, however, you were really great in these areas, and I'll still give you like a letter of recommendation. Like, let's end on good terms. Let's do this or that, right? Because you, at the end of the day, like I get, everybody needs to work. Yeah. So it's like a shitty job. You don't want to fire anybody,
right?
But if they're not the right fit, they're not the right fit,
right? Well, I think people fire themselves.
Yes.
People fire themselves, you know, and after trying to correct certain behaviors and it's not working. So it's like at some point there's a disconnect in what's expected. The expectations maybe aren't clear. But then there's just people that take advantage. That's just life, you know. So how do you find these great people? You know, I tell all my business owners, you got to put out great ads. You have to get better at hiring people through processes, procedures, and making sure that you're asking the right questions, because to me personally, I don't care how many degrees you have. Like, I want to see the person in action. You know, I actually want to see them working, because degrees are great. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying that it's not going to necessarily make this candidate a better candidate than the other because they have less degrees or no degrees. Because I'm always looking for a great attitude. People that have a great attitude, they're willing to learn. Willingness is, it's hard to find that. People that are resourceful, you know, and even though a lot of people say don't hire your family, a lot of my family does work for me. You know, there are points where I have to kind of like, and be like, hey, we have to sit down and talk about X, Y, and Z, because there is that, what is it called? Entitlement, you know, so you correct it quickly so that it's smooth sailing after that. So
you want to keep that relationship going too.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. And it's hard to work, you know, with family. It's just like working with your spouse too, right?
Yeah. But working with your spouse, how has that been for you? And then I'll tell you a little bit about how it's been for me. You got to get out of the room.
Do you want the truth? No, I'm just kidding. You know, people ask us this all the time.
No, because there are people that can't stand each other. During COVID, Fluvid, that's what I call it. There was so many people that like so many divorces because they actually had to spend time with each other, and they're like, who the fuck is this person? I know. That is insane.
No, like I spend all day with my husband. Like we go to the same gym together. We are drop the kids off at school together. We work together. You know, we do it all, right? And of course, there's times, you know, we have two kids and we call it the divide and conquer. He's one way with one kid. I'm the other at a different sport with the other.
Right.
And we just make it work. But honestly, I really think it's important to have somebody, your life partner needs to be somebody who has the same goals, dreams, and aspirations as you. Mm-hmm. And not just business, but in life in general. Like where do you see yourself in like 10 years from now? What is it? Do you like to travel? Do you like to stay home? Like getting all of that out of the way and like truly understanding your partner.
Right.
But finding someone who has that same like goals as you do, you guys can move mountains together if you're on the same page. But you have to be on the same page. And Boris and I, oh my gosh, we are on the same page. Yeah.
The same exact page.
Not the exact page. Sometimes he's like ahead a couple chapters. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not, I don't read that fast.
Right. But it's that open line of communication.
Yeah.
Where if something's not right, I always talk about this. Me and Albert will go on a relationship improvement dinner. That's what we call it.
Oh, okay. Date night.
And literally, right, but there's like a little section where there's no drinking. We're just going to strictly talk about 1, 2, and 3. I might have 2, he might have 1. And it's things that I'm like, hey, we have to address them, because if they don't get addressed now, holding things in doesn't fix anything, you know, and being compatible, because I feel like a lot of people, I don't want to say just girls, they would rather just be with anyone than to actually sit by themselves, work on themselves, become the person that they want to attract. Because you can't attract something that you're not, right?
Right.
And I love being by myself. We don't get to do it as moms anymore, ever, but I love to be by myself. That's why, like, when people tell me I hate driving, I'm like, dude, I'm jamming when I'm driving. Like, you tell me to go from here to there to Egypt to Mars, I'm there. Like, I don't care. I don't have a problem driving, even in traffic. Doesn't bother me at all. But even being with Albert, I'm like, oh my God, just let me drive. Like, you know, but him and I were super compatible. Like, we're literally the same exact person, but like a guy and a girl. It's scary. So we get into a lot of crazy shit together.
I believe it. I actually don't like driving. Boris, I'm a passenger princess all the way. Like, Boris will drive me, but I'm the type of passenger that's like, oh my God, we're going to hit that car and it's like 10 feet away.
Yeah, I do that with Albert the whole time.
He's like, do you want to drive? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll close my eyes.
No, I tell him, like, I feel like I'm driving, but you're driving, so just let me drive. And he's like, no. He's like, what does he tell me? He's so stupid. He is the worst driver ever.
I feel like that's...
There's only one, not boss. What does he say?
There's only one macho or something.
Something stupid like that. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
And he's too much, you know, but like, I love him. We can talk about anything. Like, and I think that's super important. And obviously, everyone's searching for that person, but I feel like when you just work on yourself, everything falls into place. If you do the right things, if you're a good person, karma's real.
Yes.
You know, and this is why I'm like, you can't wish somebody else's life, because you don't know what they've been through. Right. You don't know the sacrifices. You don't know what a journey it's been to get there, the challenges. I mean, literally, like Albert says, battling those heart attacks, because it's a lot of work. And that's why a lot of people just stay comfortable. Yes. You know, but if you're not growing, you're literally dying.
I think oftentimes too, you mentioned this earlier with social media, it makes us look like things are so smooth and so perfect all the time. But the reality is, no, like, business, we have the same hiccups as any business. Yeah. Relationships, same hiccups as any relationship. Right. If you're not constantly working on yourself, and if you're not able to have that open communication of like, hey, you did this and I have an issue with that, right? And it goes both ways. Like, you have to be open to accepting it too.
100%.
And I think oftentimes that's missed, because you're not going to post all of those bad times on social media. Mm-mm. Social media is a highlight reel.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. It makes things look so beautiful.
And perfect.
Except when I'm like, I want to kick your ass. Like, shut up. No. And you know, one of our rules is we don't disrespect each other. Yeah. Because I think once you lose the respect for one another, I think it's kind of hard to come out of that. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that you can't force anything. And really, when things aren't meant to be, they're really not meant to be. Right. You know, and trying to change someone, that doesn't work either. So it's like, you just have to be okay with like the stuff that's not perfect, because there is no perfect human, you know? And like I tell Albert, I did not sign up to be your mom. You have a mommy, and that's your mom forever. And I'm your wife. Yeah. Like, I want us to have a good life. I want to be able to obviously trust you. I always say, without trust, there's nothing. And people ask me all the time, and I'm like, dude, I literally am zero jealous unless you give me a fucking reason. And let me find out. Just kidding. I will be gone in a heartbeat, you know, because...
It's because you're confident.
I'm super confident.
Yes.
I know the value that I bring to not only his life, but I know the person that I am. And like I always say, if I have your back, whether you're my friend, you work for me, like we're on the same page, like my husband, like I'm like, nobody's allowed to be mean to him but me, like not even his own mom. So it's like, I protect him. I love him. I'm like, no, I've fought with investors for him. I'm like, do not fucking talk to him like that, motherfucker. Like, I'll kick your ass and bleep all that stuff out. But no, because I'm like, what? Like, I'm very like chispa. Like, I catch shit. You know, people try to like say shit. And I'm like, like, not with me. Like, I caught that like before it came out of your mouth. You know, so like, I tell people, just, if you have my back, I got your back. It's that simple. You could call me at any time, ask me for anything, but I expect the same in return, you know, because it's a two-way street.
That's so funny. I am like this. I'm like happy-go-lucky 99% of the time.
Same.
But you do that one thing to cross 60, me, and it's like, oh no, I'm sorry. Like, the smile is gone, and I'm like, we're not doing this anymore, right? Like, I will cut people from my life if I have to. Quickly.
Well, you have to protect your environment.
You really do.
Yeah, because again, my grandma used to say, caras vemos, corazones no conocemos. I don't even know how to say that in English, but...
I think I understood it. You spoke like really fast, though, but yeah.
But we don't know hearts sometimes.
Okay,
you know? Kind of like meaning most people have... They're looking to see what they can take, right? So when you find good people... that you can grow with. And I'm not saying you don't look out for your best interest. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that be in relationships, whether it's business partners, to see how we can mutually grow, how it's a benefit to each other. Because think about it. We only have 24 hours in the day. 8 we spend sleeping, at least 7 or 8 for me.
Unless you have insomnia and you're up like...
no, I couldn't sleep last night, so I get it.
I was like, or maybe you just own a business and then you wake up and you're like, oh, I've got to write this down.
Yeah, 100%. You know, but then it's like you have your work and then you have your family time. So there's not a lot of extra time. You know, as you get older, you get busier. So we have to have our priorities very, very clear. Yes. What are our goals? Because I think a lot of us make the mistake to believe that we have time. And I think you being in the world that you're in, you realize how much we don't have time.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, we see it quite often. And like, not to bring like a somber mood or anything, but it's
reality.
It is. And especially with what we do. But I think I've mentioned this before. We have cared for 65-year-olds who worked their entire lives and ended up in our care home, 6 months after retirement, and they can't recognize family or friends. They can't speak anymore. And they, pass shortly after that. And it gives you a different perspective on life. Mm-hmm. Like, travel now, enjoy life. Don't wait until you're a certain age because society told you had to wait. Live life now because you never know when it's taken away from you. Yeah.
And it could be, age has nothing to do with that either.
Exactly. It's unfortunate, but we're hearing it like more often now, right? That a lot of people are getting sick and unfortunate circumstances are happening and their life is just taken from them at such a young age.
Right. And it's so sad. I think humans were healthier before. A lot healthier. I don't know what's going on.
Unless it's just being publicized more now. I don't know, but I'm hearing it a lot.
Yeah.
I really am.
I was telling Albert the other day, I'm like, babe, do you think people are just getting worse or angrier, or the world is in a very bad state, or there's just like so much bad stuff happening? Or is it because of social media that it's highlighted on the daily, like constantly, 24/7? I've never been like a worrywart or anything like that, but I think once you have kids, you think a lot differently. You move differently.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You focus on different things. Like now I'm like, see, like you want to have a guy that you're not worried if he's cheating. You're worried that oh my God, if he fucking dies one day, what are you gonna because like my kids adore their dad.
Yes.
Like it's crazy. Like my little daughter, Atella, is obsessed with him. Obsessed. Like she's like in love. Oh, he does whatever the hell they want. I'm like, no. He'll be like, mommy's the boss. I'm like, yeah, ask mommy. Because those are his little babies. 3 little girls. 3 is a lot of kids, girl. I don't even know. I was contemplating a 4th, but I don't know. I think I'm good.
I told you. I have a thing about being outnumbered. The second my son was born, Boris is like, I'm going straight to the doctor. We're done. And I was like, I am totally fine with that because I like to travel and
be able to do your thing. You grab one, he grabs one in case something happens, and you just run.
I always thought about like theme parks and rides.
You're telling me exactly. It's such a nightmare. I always have to stay behind, or I have to stay with Berlin,
Yeah, you have to
Italia,
take
then we'll
turns.
switch, and then you wait at the end of the line. That's not fun.
No, like whatever he's doing, I want to do too.
He's not allowed to have fun without me. Just kidding. No, but on a serious note, we're joking around, but that's what life is about.
Yeah.
To be happy.
You have to laugh.
You have to laugh. You have to be
Yes.
happy, truly happy.
Yeah.
Because problems are always going to be there. You just have to decide, do I want big, giant problems? Or do I want small problems? There's still problems at the end of the day. It's just, when you own a business and you properly run and operate a business, you can actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. Like you said,
yes.
going on vacations, having that quality time, because one day your kids are temporary. They're going to grow. Hopefully you did a great job of raising good humans. So you set them off into the world and I think cross your fingers and pray. I don't know. I don't want to think about that, but it's scary. I think it's so sad, but that's what life is.
I think your kids are constantly watching you and setting that good example for them so that they're okay in the world. Like, that's all we can do as parents.
Yeah.
My kids grew up in senior living facilities. They come with us to work.
It's
and
so cute.
and
I
they've
see the videos.
It's super sweet. Like, they come, they'll color with my seniors. My dog is a therapy dog. Like, we're truly family owned and operated, right?
Yeah.
And
So is In and Out.
yeah. Oh, I know. I like that too, right? It's the same concept, right?
Yeah.
You lead with service and the money follows.
Money always follows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll just keep coming again if you keep doing the right things, if you keep growing, if you keep learning, and at some point, I don't know where you see yourself 5 years from now, but where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Whew, that's such a great question. So we've been asked this question a lot recently, and we definitely want to add more senior care facilities of our own. Our coaching program just took off. We haven't even promoted it, and we have 4 clients already, which is really exciting.
I love it.
So once we start promoting that and building it out more,
Running ads.
right, we anticipate having an entire platform and community of senior living owners who can collaborate with each other and support each other, and it's just a feel good business. And I want that. I want to help people because that's exactly what we're doing.
Right. And I think the world needs it too, because
Yeah.
again, at some point, I don't know, it's like everyone's gotten so messed up. I don't know what it is, or I don't know if I just notice it more, or if it's because we're so much more successful now that like these people come out of nowhere. I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, how do you have time to hate me? And if people focused on their own life and really understood and sat back to realize that it takes 10-year runs, 20-year runs, then you're exiting out of a company, but that takes so much work and focus that what we focus on, that's what's going to grow, so that I don't know about you. And let me ask you this question. I've never felt jealous of someone or envious of someone. If anything, I'm like, what can I learn from this person?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Let me ask you that. Have you ever felt like obviously jealous of like my cousin, because she would get like, we never got Christmas gifts. She would get like a boombox with like NSYNC CDs, and I was jealous of the good kind. Like, I wasn't mean to her or anything like that, but that kind of jealous, but not like, like I want to wish you harm jealous.
Right. No, I don't think I've ever been jealous of anyone. I've always looked at successful people. I'm sorry, excuse me.
It's okay.
I've always looked at successful people and said, what are they doing? And how did they get to their level? Because I want to get to that point too. Like, I want that level of success for myself and for my family. So what is it that they're doing that I can learn from? Everything is a learning opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you constantly want to continue to be a sponge and absorb it all. Otherwise, you're stuck in the same place, and you're going to be in the same place for years to come. Nothing's ever going to change.
Right. And what do they know that I don't know?
Yes.
That's like so huge, because so many people do no personal development, none, and unfortunately, at least how I grew up, I had to unlearn a bunch of stuff, and the only way to do that is to be around successful people. My ex's family was what I thought was successful at the time. no offense, but meaning there's just so many levels.
Yeah.
And to unlock different levels, you have to become a different person. Not only that, you have to be able to remove the ceiling off of what you thought was success, because I mean, there's people that buy islands, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You know, and I tell Albert, I literally cannot wait till we buy our personal jet, and then I'm going to be like to so many people. And you just let the success speak for themselves, because we're literally so busy that when people send me stuff, I'm like, dude, I literally don't know who this person is, like, at all. And successful people don't do that.
They don't do that.
They don't do that. We're trying to help other people, because the more people you help, the more blessings are going to come to your life. It's not always necessarily via money, but it's like, it's satisfying. I'm sure, just like you seeing your seniors happy. Like for me, when I see, you know, Jonathan from the garage doors. Yeah, I had to like scold him, because I'm like, you need to stop smoking weed. Like, this is enough. Like, people don't realize how bad that is for you. And now, and I'm not saying don't smoke weed at all. I smoked weed at one point in my life, and I never imagined being without it till I had my first kid.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like a hit, because I'm like a super lightweight. I'm like a super lightweight, you know, and now I'm like, you don't realize, because we always make excuses for whatever it is that we don't want to stop doing. Whatever that it looks like, drugs, drinking, excessive anything is not good, right? But I tell people, like, you would be so much better, or at least start doing this. Just do it at night. Like, why would you start your day high? Like, I'll never understand that, you know, because I don't care what anybody says, it impairs you, period. You do everything slower and different, and not every human is the same. But him, I had a talk with him, so he started listening to me slowly. He's like, Syl, I'm 30 days sober, and then he'll relapse. I'm like, okay, don't worry, just start again. So now he's 60 days, and he's been doing so good. But he started in our $47 academy. And then he watched all the driven events, all the videos. He consumed all that content. By that time, he was already better. Then he came to 5K. And then now he's part of Inner Circle, but his business is doing so good.
He came to our house and did his podcast with us at our house. This was the day of the earthquake.
He was in your house?
He was in our house.
And I thought it was like a Zoom.
No, he was in our house when the whole thing happened. And it was actually really funny, because we were in the middle of filming when the earthquake happened. And I guess we were talking about like relationships and fights and like working with your spouse. And I do this. And that's when the earthquake happened. And I was the only one who gets up and walks to her doorway. So that's probably the only time anybody is ever like, you're not supposed to do that anymore. I'm like, well, I don't remember, right? Like,
do I go under a table?
But like, what people didn't realize is our table is glass.
Oh, shit.
And then there's like a moving chandelier above. So I'm like, if this thing breaks, like, I don't want to be around all this glass.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. But see him, you know, all those success. We have a lot of success stories. Just
absolutely
people that do the work, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
It's all there, and we're going to make mistakes. And you actually learn so much more from mistakes than you actually do from winning. Right?
I believe that 100%.
When you're winning, it's like, oh, easy peasy, whatever.
Exactly.
You're living life. But when you're not winning, you know, how do you show up as a person? You know, how do you deal with the obstacles? Like, what do you look like on those days? Because I don't know about you, and I'm sure there are days I'm just like, I really don't want to be here, but I'm going to make it happen. And I just don't feel like it. Yeah. But there are certain things that need to get done no matter what. And, you know, all of my companies run without me. I just like being here. I like being involved. But now I'm very much more like,
right.
And then I get to my kids, because they're getting so big. But how do you show up on hard days?
Well, I work out every morning when I don't want to, right? You still wake up and you roll out of bed. And I have a gym membership, but I also have my gym in the garage too. So like on those busy days, I still work out in the garage. And in fact, this entire week I've been doing that, because I couldn't get to the gym. But you don't make excuses.
No.
There's so many different alternatives. But you don't have, like, I've always said this, like, you don't have a choice. You just do it. Right? And if you plan out your days, like, I'm actually bad at planning. Boris is my planner. Yeah. But like, we have this like calendar that we share, and I'm like, okay, these are all the things that we have to do today. You just do it and you get it done because you don't have any other choice.
Right.
And
And
that's
it's
it.
not, well, quitting's not an option. And
Never an option.
you either have excuses or you get the results. That's it.
Yeah, like you don't, like I can't just not show up to a meeting, or I can't not receive a phone call from a doctor, or I can't not order somebody's medications.
Right.
I can't not respond to a family member. Like those are my responsibilities and I take them very seriously. So you do it and that's it.
Yeah. And until you train someone obviously below you, which I think is going to be coming soon,
Yeah.
to alleviate obviously your time. But it's like, I feel like me, I love, like I know somebody else can call. I know the call's not going to go as good as if I take it.
Yeah.
But at some point, you know, when you start your building out more coaching people, like it's like there's just not enough time, you know? So for me, working out is also super big. For Albert, we've always kept ourselves super fit because I think it's kind of important to clear your mind, because it doesn't matter how shitty the morning started. You could just make that switch. You flip a switch and you're ready to rock and roll and take on the world again, because that's how entrepreneurship is. It's like a little roller coaster. Actually, the biggest roller coaster ever that you've been on. That's
It
what.
is.
But it's worth it too.
It's so funny. I have one of my really good friends. She's like, owning a business is like an abusive relationship. Like there's like so many ups and downs, but you just keep going back for more.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, you kind of have to in this case.
Right, exactly. If not you, then who, right? But again, the goal is to get the business to run without you.
Yes.
And without losing that touch. Because as you get bigger and bigger, it is harder to keep the same level of not only service, quality, and you know, that personal touch in your case, I think is super important.
Yeah.
Just like in my world, real estate, you want to do a good job. There's a lot of very bad lenders and a lot of very bad realtors. And I'm like, you should get your license revoked because you didn't even answer the phone.
Yeah.
You don't answer emails. You don't answer your clients. You know, people look at things like money and people can tell.
Yeah,
You know, if I look at you like money, dollar signs, people can tell.
absolutely.
You know, I look for people that I know I can help and impact, because if you're willing to execute, think about it. If you remain a student forever, everyone starts somewhere.
Yep.
And then with time, everything starts to double and double and double. And then you're going to replace yourself. He's going to replace. And then you're just going to overlook. And then you're going to overlook and overlook. And, you know, and again, it's like it's kind of exciting and crazy at the same time to think of with proper structure what's possible.
Right.
You know, but again, how do we know if we don't know? We only know what we know.
Exactly.
So, you know, once you talk to someone like Joe from Laserway, I was like, I love people like that. I was just like, okay, got it. Everything he's saying, I'm like, that's me. Understood. Okay, I'm not crazy. Yeah, it's like reassurance.
But you also, like, that was you being a student again.
Yeah, always.
You always have to be a student. You always have to be willing to learn.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's it.
Yeah, humble and coachable. And if you're a student, you're always going to do good in life. You know, again, you get what you give. Nothing worthwhile is going to come easy. Easy come, easy go. Yeah. You know, unfortunately. We all want to win the lottery, but there's a reason why people that win the lottery, most of them don't do very well.
You know, I'm creating my own. I don't need to win the lottery.
I need to win the I would love to win the lottery. That would be amazing. But I don't know. I don't play, so it's going to be hard to win. But I always say I'm going to win the lottery. But I don't play.
God,
so
that's funny.
Yeah, it's insane. But lastly, you know, to close out, because it's almost been an hour. I was like, how long has it been? I'm like 24 minutes, but I'm looking at the wrong thing. 57 minutes.
Oh, is that how the time works? I'm like, there's so many numbers happening in the background right now. It's like, what's happening?
Yeah. So your biggest advice, you know, because I know a lot of women are going to be watching, and I'm a woman, so I love to help women, but I also love to help anybody. But they have a soft place in my heart because I know women stay in relationships because they don't know how to go start a business, you know, as much as they want to, they don't know how, they don't know who to reach out to. So what would be your biggest advice to anybody out there, maybe not happy where they are, scared to make the jump or the change in their industry, or maybe going from W-2 to self-employed? What would be your advice to someone like that, as far as maybe your biggest struggles? Like, don't be afraid. Like, what is your biggest advice that you could give someone?
I want to say my biggest piece of advice is to find a good support system, whether that is a family member, a friend, or even paid mentorship or a coach, a business coach, somebody who's really going to support you and have your back so that you can move forward in life. Because the people around you that hold you down, believe it or not, are the people that are closest to you.
Yeah.
Right? And so finding someone, like I mentioned, whether it's a paid support person or a close family or friend that you can trust, somebody who really has your back and helps guide you, supports your dreams, and isn't afraid to tell you, you know what? No, that's probably not in like your best interest, right? So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, and it's so true because again, you know the bucket with all the crabs in it?
Yes. Yeah.
So
exactly.
there's like Alaskan crabs that don't pull each other down, they all get out.
Yeah.
And then there's the ones that they find like
Yeah.
I don't want to say any names because then we're going to get in trouble. We're going to get blocked by YouTube. But these crabs, they just keep pulling each other down.
They pull each other down.
You
into the
know,
bucket.
because again, brings me back to the same thing. People want to see you do good, but not better than them, you know. But to touch lastly, before we let everybody know where they can find you, to touch lastly on the right support system, because people will lie to you, you know, and
This is true.
they'll just lie to you to keep you there or whatnot, or not see you grow. But the problem with people that are closest to you that don't want you to succeed is because think about it. You have to kill the person that they know to level up. Meaning you have to transform yourself. Their friend, their sister, the person that they know that you are has to completely change. So that's why people aren't okay with people changing, people growing, people getting better, because then you start getting the comments like, oh, you think you're better than everybody, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of gets to you.
You know, when Boris and I first started our business together and we told our friends we were moving out of our home into the guest house, we actually had some of those friends tell us, I think this is a really bad idea. And you know, 9 years later, we kind of want to be like, was it a bad idea? You know what I mean? Like, can I like give it back? Because it was a great idea, obviously.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes back to like, you know, if you need to pay a support system, if you need to pay a coach to get you to, you know, that next level, pay somebody who's actually walked the walk.
Yeah.
Not like you know, somebody, you know, if you want to get into an industry, make sure that they actually own a business in that industry.
Right. 100%.
Right. And make sure that they've had success in that industry too. So find somebody who has a success rate, who's actually walked the walk, that can truly guide you and support you.
Yeah, and teach you the ropes, the real ropes.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you don't know how to do it, you can't teach it. That's just life. It's how it works. But where can people find you? And if they're interested in what you do, what's the best way to reach you? You know, because I think that you're going to help a lot of people help other people, like you said. And really, that's what we should all be doing. You know, we gotta take matters into our own hands and make the world a better place, because it's so needed. You know, we all need love and support at some point, you know, and there's nothing wrong with asking for it. And like you said, paying for information that maybe took us 2 decades, 10 years.
A really long time.
Yeah, you know, and you can get it just with money. Money is a tool.
Yes.
Money is a tool to get you in the door. Money is a tool to get you around better people that, hey, you might just meet your best friend and you just don't put yourself in those places, because everybody thinks everything's a scam. But this is why I say, get a feel for it, get information, ask the right questions.
Yes, absolutely. You know, it took me a really long time to figure out all of the things that I have put into a coaching program. So as we're building out this coaching program, you can find me on the Amanda Palomino on Instagram. You can find my husband Boris on Boris V Palomino on Instagram as well. Shoot us a DM. We're happy to set up a call with you and let you know how you can start your very own senior living facility.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
I loved having you here.
This was so much fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to change the world with you.
Yes, let's do it. Girls rule.
Empower women. Girls rule. We run the world, okay? Okay. So every successful man has a great woman by his side. That's just how life works. So, you know, if you're looking for a sisterhood, if you're looking for like-minded women, you know, reach out, send me a DM, send her a DM. You know, we have coaching programs available that are very inexpensive to be surrounded by other women that are going to help you, not tear you down, you know, because it's hard to find people that really want you to succeed. So I will see you next time. Send us a DM.
Yay.